Back to Ring News 24 Boxing Radio, the boxing show where we give you sweet science straight up with no twists. And my next guest is no stranger to great fights, to great excitement, to pressure. And he had a little say in this great boxing weekend with a great performance on Saturday night against Alton De Jesus. Fifth round stoppage in a fight where I don't think he took one breath. His second fight of 2013 on his comeback trail. I'm talking about Juan, the Baby Bull Diaz. Welcome to Ring News 24 Boxing Radio, Juan.
Hey, guys. Thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure to be on the show and be speaking with you guys about the sweet science.
Yes, Juan, and I thank you for sharing your time with us, and I've always been a fan of you and your fights. You give it your all, and obviously all those great fights. Your last fight of July the 31st, 2010, tough decision loss to Juan Marquez, and we hadn't seen you in quite a long time, and then here it is, the calendar year of 2013, and you decide to lace up the boxing gloves again. What led you to that decision?
Well, I did take a 2.5-year layoff, and at 27, I decided to hang up the gloves because at the time it was time to lace them up. My body was screaming at me and yearning for me to give it a break. And I've been boxing since the age of 8, so 27, 19 years in the game, over 100 amateur fights with 30-something professional fights. At the time, my body was screaming that it needed a rest, and I wasn't feeling the passion anymore, the passion and the desire to fight. So, it was more of a job to me. So it was always in my plans, or at least I gave myself an option. That's why I retired. I didn't want anybody to tell me when was I going to come back or what was I going to do or this and that. I just wanted to be left alone, and I really wanted a break from the sport. And, at 29, I started, last year in December, I decided that I wanted to, there was time for me to lace them back up. And, here I am, and just finished my second fight of my comeback.
Now, is it a decision that was yours and yours alone? Did you have to discuss it with family members or management? Was everybody on board? Was there any time when there was people who were trying to talk you out of it?
Well, yeah, there was. My mother. That she really wants the best for me as far as my health, and that's the most important thing to her is my health. And she said, "Hey, you've been 2 years retired. I think you need to go and make sure go get checked up with the doctor and make sure that he's all right. And if he if he tells you you're okay, you're good to go, then you have my blessing."
All right, and then obviously you got that blessing, and then you get back into the ring in April of this year against Pepino Cuevas Jr. in Texas. You stomp him in 6 rounds, and obviously that had to be a great feeling. You get all that rust off. Was there any major differences that you noticed in your body after the fight, after being off for so long?
I actually did. And believe it or not, this fight, I felt the difference that the first fight I did against Pepino Cuevas Jr., I felt a lot of ring rust, and I'm glad that I decided to take it nice and slow because for a few rounds, I was having trouble finding my distance. I was feeling a little awkward, a little weird in there. I wasn't feeling like myself or like the old Baby Bull. So it took me some time to adjust and to feel at home in the ring. And this time around, I felt very comfortable. I was able to let my hands go from the first round, and I didn't feel awkward at all.
Yeah, and you're talking about the fight this past Saturday, and I don't think you stopped punching once from the start of the bell. Totally relentless, a total nightmare for whoever was working the punch stat numbers that night. Did you treat them to dinner or something? Because they probably the only guy that worked harder than you that night was the punch stat counters.
Yeah, I didn't really get to. I haven't even really looked at the punch stat numbers. I was focused, and my vision was laser sharp, and everything just my combinations just seemed to flow naturally, and I believe that has to do with me, steady training. It had been 2.5 years when I fought Pepino Cuevas Jr., 2.5 years that I hadn't fought and I hadn't really trained at that level. And this time around, fighting the Jesus, it's almost about 10 months that I've been training hardcore. So, my conditioning, my stamina came back, and I felt so comfortable that I could let my hands go. In the first fight, I was against Pepino Cuevas, I felt my stamina, diminish a little bit, and it got me a little worried. But I said, let me give it another shot, and let me see how I feel. And this time around, it was like night and day. Fighting the Jesus and fighting Pepino Cuevas, it was night and day. I was able to let my hands go against the Jesus and really be myself in there.
Yeah, and it was a great dominant performance, Juan, and I'm going to put my co-host for the evening, Frank Zong, on and ask you a couple of questions. Go ahead, Frank.
Hey, Juan, congratulations, man. How are you?
Hey, Frank, I'm doing pretty good. Thank you. Very excited to be back in the ring and having people talk about me.
Good, yeah. So when you were deciding on coming back, did you get together? What did you say when you got together with your trainer again before you were starting camp for your fight earlier in the year? Like, was there anything in terms of your approach? Would it be different at all, or was it going to be more the same, just more about getting your conditioning and your timing back?
Well, it was definitely going to be a little different. We were gonna try to be a little bit smarter in my fights. I'm a little older, so I need to be a little smarter now. And what the plan was, the plan is instead of averaging 80 to 90 punches per round, the plan was to average 50 to 60, but place them a little bit better. But I think that I actually didn't follow that game plan this time around, and I just let my hands go and really became myself.
Mhm. So do you think in the future we'll probably see more effective stoppages from you, since you'll be placing them better and you'll probably be planting more on your punches instead of more just trying to outwork the opponent?
Yeah, I think it's the way I felt in this fight, I felt like my old self again. And the old baby bull was relentless and really didn't think. They say we say it's a sweet science, and that you have to think out there. And the man who outthinks the other, it's gonna be the winner. But I think in my case, I think while I punch, I think that's my great asset is my stamina. And in the past, that's how I became champion, is just being relentless and not really caring what punches my opponents were going to throw or what they had in their arsenal. It was just all about what I was going to do. And I think that's the approach that I'm going to take this time around. Towards the end, of course, I was fighting better opposition like Marquez and Malanaji, guys like that. So I felt that, I wasn't as aggressive as I could have been. I let off the pedal a little bit because I knew I was fighting smarter, faster, stronger guys. But I think if I I show the same aggressiveness and the same determination as I do with these B and C level fighters, then I definitely will become champion again.
Mhm. And Marquez, speaking of Marquez, he has a fight coming up in a couple of months with Bradley. So how would you feel about working towards a third match with him? Since your first fight with him was a barn burner, with the second one you seemed a little more measured and maybe even a little more hesitant, like you were saying. So do you think that the key to defeating a guy like that is to just continuously be more aggressive? Since the first fight you hurt him a couple of times just by being aggressive, and it seemed like he ended up capitalizing when you stopped throwing as many punches later on.
Yeah, absolutely. A guy like Marquez, you're not gonna outbox him. He's when it comes to counter punching, he's he's a master at counter punching. So the way to beat Marquez is to outwork him. He's gonna counter. If you box him, he's gonna counter every punch that you make, and you see, and every mistake he's gonna counter. You see what he did to Pacquiao. He's a master. He's a future Hall of Famer. So Marquez finds your weaknesses, and he capitalizes on them and uses them against you. But a guy like Marquez, I think, I had the right strategy in the first fight. I didn't let him think much, and when I let off the pedal in the 6, 7, and 8 round is where he capitalized. So a guy like Marquez, you definitely cannot let him think in the ring.
And Juan, the last question I have for you is, it took you 4 months from Cuevas to Saturday night. Is that going to be the timetable again, another 4 months? Or do you anticipate getting in the ring a little earlier than that, a little later than that? What's being discussed?
Well, it wasn't by choice. I was hoping that I would be able to get in the ring by 2 or 3 months. In about 3 months. But what happened was, due to the promoters and to the negotiations, it didn't come into fruit until 4 months from now. From the date when I fought Pepino Cuevas. But this time around, I want to do one more fight before the end of the year. We stayed in touch with Top Rank, and it seems like they might be willing to give me another fight without signing a contract in October or November. So we're definitely exploring that possibility.
All right, and there's a lot of great stuff hovering around 140 and 147. Do you anticipate fighting at 140 for this comeback, moving up, moving down? What weight do you feel most comfortable at? Because, like I said, you look pretty energetic on Saturday night. Do you know what you weighed going into the fight after you stepped on the scales?
Yeah, going into the fight, I was weighing 140 pounds, so I gained 4 pounds from the weigh-in. So not much. I'm not a heavy-handed or heavy-boned fighter. I believe I do want to win a title at 135, the lightweight division. I made 136 Saturday night fairly easy, but I think my bones are a little heavier now. I'm older. I'm 29. By next year, I'll be 30. So I think that after I win the title at lightweight, I definitely want to give it a shot at the super lightweight, which is 140.
All right, and at lightweight, who do you think best suits you for that title shot? Who would you want most? Call somebody out for us on Ring News 24 Boxing Radio. Hello? Hello? And I don't know if Juan heard me or not. I think we lost him. Frank, can you hear me?
Hello?
Frank? Yes.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess Juan is gone. Let me see. I'm really looking forward to hearing him answer. I see him still there. Juan, are you there? All right, I guess we lost it. It's the weirdest thing. He's still here on the switchboard, Frank, but he's not answering. Maybe he doesn't want to call anybody out. I don't know. Well,
I wanted to ask him about his careers outside of boxing, because I knew he was going to study law outside, and I'm a little bit surprised that he's back, because it's just impressive to me that he was able to go to school for that while he was boxing, and that he would decide to come back to the ring when he had that option. So I guess it's hard to give up that thrill, and it's hard to give up the payday that would come if he can move up to super lightweight and eventually get the attention of the elite fighters again. So all the power coming back. I'm just a little surprised he is back.
Yeah, a lot of people are, but obviously he has his mindset on doing this. He looked very good Saturday, to his own admission, not against a top-tier guy, but he's working his way towards that. You're talking about a guy who did major rounds with guys like Juan Marquez, Paulie Malignaggi, Nate Campbell. Juan, I was asking you to give us a name at 135, a lot of interesting title holders. Who you think you would be more suited against? Is there a particular challenge you would like at 135 with those title holders? A lot of big names out there. What do you say?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of big names. You have Omar Figueroa from Texas, who the fans from Texas are actually screaming and yelling and shouting that they want that fight. Then you have Ricky Burns, who's also a real popular champion. And then, you have guys like Vasquez, I think it's Miguel Vasquez from Mexico. But, I'm going to be honest, he's a boring fighter. And, and his style of boxing and mine, I would have to chase him around the whole night. And that's not interesting for the fans. They want great fights, and style-wise, I think that I'm at the point where I can go after the champion that I think would make a better fight for me and for the fans. Because as a fighter, I also have to take into consideration that I want to be one of those fighters that people love and that people demand. So therefore, I want to give them the best fight.
All right, and thank you for coming back on. And my co-host Frank had one more quick question. I know you got to run, but Frank, go ahead real quick before Juan has to go.
Yeah, well, I was talking to Anthony a little earlier. I was impressed with what you were able to do outside the ring with studying law. Are you still planning on pursuing that while you're boxing, or is that going to be pushed a little further down the road until you retire for good?
No, it's actually I started my own trucking company, my own business in the 2 years that I was retired. So I deferred. I got accepted into law school. I deferred, and then when the year came up, I decided not to attend. So maybe in the future, when I get a little older and things are more, I'm more settled in with what I want to do with the rest of my life, then I might look into that. But for now, I'm focusing on my business and on my boxing.
All right, and thank you for coming back on, Juan the Baby Bull Diaz. Hope to speak to you again soon. If you have any final words for the fans of Ring News 24 Boxing Radio, go right ahead.
Absolutely. I want to thank them for their love and support. I know I have a lot of fans all around the country and the world, so I want to thank them for their support.